What better way to improve our own communication skills than to learn from the best? And today we're going to learn from someone who inspired millions of people around the world. Welcome everybody, I'm Matt. Remember to subscribe to get notifications for new videos on personal growth and motivation. Steve Jobs was renowned for his public speaking skills. He is said to have taken product presentations to a completely different level. Today we're going to look at a Stanford University Commencement address that he did way back in 2005 that has 35 million views. We're going to break down why the speech was so powerful and why so many people loved it.
I'm honored to be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation.
I love this opening. The first thing you notice is his presence on stage. He automatically commands respect and attention. Before he even speaks, he pauses, takes a deep breath, and looks to different sections of the crowd, and then smiles. So often when nervous, we rush. He takes his time. It shows confidence to survey the audience before even saying a word. If you're ever public speaking and you try to pause for 3 seconds before you talk, those 3 seconds might feel like 3 minutes. It can be quite hard to do if you're not really confident. And after this, he smiles. Smiling sends a positive cue to our audience. It communicates our openness, puts our audience in a positive state of mind. Smiling changes your state of mind, even if you're in a state like anxiety or fear. It helps relax you. The next thing he has is a strong presence. There's a conviction about his words. And this makes him come across with ease, with poise, like with a self-assured confidence. And you feel like he's in the moment with everybody. Interestingly, he also shows weakness. This was the perfect thing to do. At the time, he was this famous, successful, wealthy, intelligent guy. It can be hard to connect with somebody like this. We can put them on a pedestal. But he basically said, I never graduated, but you did. He's leveling the playing field, making us see him not as some unrelatable genius, but as a human being. This technique is used a lot in sales. You know, if someone's promoting, say, a fitness program, and let's say it's some guy who's in amazing shape, he looks great. If he walks into a room full of people who aren't happy with the way they look and who want to lose weight, and he starts by saying, if you want to be fit, you need to be more like me, people would be totally put off. But what does he do? He says, if you are sitting there fed up because no matter what you seem to try to do, you can't lose the weight, and you feel like a failure. If that's you, I know exactly how you feel, because 5 years ago, that was me. I used to weigh 350 pounds and struggled with weight my whole life. But I turned it around, and so can you. Now this feels completely different. And this is how vulnerability and showing weakness can connect you to the audience. And Steve Jobs utilizes this incredibly well here.
Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories.
This is great advice if you're crafting a speech. There's a concept called the rule of 3. 3 is said to be the exact number of ideas that makes it easiest for the audience to digest, understand, and remember. So he tells us he's going to tell us 3 stories, and then he divides up those 3 stories again with a beginning, a middle, and an end, or an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So you got 3 stories and 3 parts to each story. This makes everything so clear, so easy to understand, so easy to remember. So try breaking up ideas and descriptions into bunches of 3 to break up more complex topics. And that will help the impact of your speech writing.
And 17 years later, I did go to college. But I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all of the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop.
I love this. It's classic Steve Jobs. He's always the guy who goes against the grain. He's honest. He says it like it is. He doesn't hold back. Just picture the scene. He's asked to do a speech for a Stanford University for college graduates. And he says that dropping out of college was the best decision he ever made. I mean, who else would do something like that? But it's this confidence to do what he believes, even if everyone else is telling him to do something different, or if the expectation is to do something different, that is also the reason why he was able to create these incredibly innovative companies that revolutionized technology and that did things that nobody else was doing. My favorite part of this speech is his messages. He has powerful, inspirational messages in this speech, and each one has a clear objective and a strong intention.
If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
I absolutely love this. So many of us avoid pursuing certain things that we actually enjoy because we feel like they don't have enough use, like they won't lead to a job or they won't lead to more money. But we need to follow the things we love and trust that one day the dots will align, the dots will connect, even if we don't know how they will today. And what a great thing to tell to young graduates.
I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. And don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking. Don't settle.
This is beautiful. You know, I feel riled up by this. It makes me want to get out there, pursue what matters to me no matter what, and never give up. He's so motivating. I love this.
I live with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
It's so motivating. Your heart and intuition already know where you should go and to follow them. Don't waste your time chasing other people's dreams. It's so good. What a great message, especially for young graduates. The last thing that made this speech so powerful was that Steve Jobs knew his audience. Messages like the ones we just heard, they were perfect inspiration for young people with their whole lives ahead of them, exactly what they needed to hear. But it wasn't just the messages that were targeted. The stories he tells were also specifically tailored for them.
I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life.
This story did two things. Firstly, by sharing a personal story about himself, that he was adopted, it helps to bond him to the audience. You'll find that anyone who you feel like you've made a real connection with, it's usually when you or them or both of you have revealed something personal about yourselves, something close to their heart. It's a fast way to build trust. The second thing this story has done is to highlight the value of the college graduate's degrees. He's done this by stressing the importance of a college education to his biological mother. She would have never signed the adoption papers if his parents didn't promise that he would go to college. This reminds every single graduate sitting there that day that they should not take for granted how lucky they are to have had the opportunity to go to college. That there's people all around the world who would trade everything to be in their privileged position. And it motivates the students, the graduates there that day, to then make the most of their opportunity. This is a message targeted towards the specific audience. To summarize, what made this speech so powerful? Number one, his confidence, presence, and conviction behind his words. Number two was his ability to show vulnerability. It made him feel so relatable. He said that this was the closest he'd get to ever getting a college degree, being at this commencement speech. Number three, using the rule of three to craft the speech. He had 3 stories, 3 parts to each. Number 4 was his honesty. He said that dropping out of college was the best decision he ever made. Number 5, his inspirational messages. Things like follow your heart, don't settle, live your own dreams, not somebody else's, and that failure can lead to your greatest success. There were so many different messages. And finally, the 6th thing he did to make the speech so popular, so loved, he knew his audience. He had the right stories and the right messages for those specific people to have the most impact in the speech. This was a fantastic talk. There's so much we can learn from someone like Steve Jobs. It looks like there were thousands of people attending this event. He wasn't even using a lot of communication techniques like gestures, vocal variety, or body language. But he still had the whole audience hanging on his every word. Only a special individual could pull that off. I hope you were able to take some ideas from this breakdown so that you can use it for your own public speaking or your own communication style. And in doing so, hopefully you can motivate and inspire people like Steve Jobs. I hope this video helped you. If it did, hit the like button, share it with somebody. Be sure to hit subscribe. If you do, you'll get notifications for new videos on public speaking and personal growth. Check out some of the other public speaking reaction videos on the left-hand side here. And finally, if there are any topics or speakers or YouTubers that you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for joining me. I'm Matt. We'll see you next time.